edition of The Accomplished Woman with Cathy Mendell, the show for accomplished women who are serious about their retirement. I'm your host, Kristin Oakley, and I'm joined in the studio by Cathy Mendell. She is the founder and president of Theia Financial. Cathy, my friend, it's great to see you.
It's great to see you as well.
And I know we are just going to get right to it today because you have prepared another fabulous episode for all the accomplished women out there. We are going to be talking today about three big risks. The three big risks that affect all of us in retirement, but specifically us as accomplished women. And I want to start by just presencing some of the questions that I know a lot of women are asking you, and a lot of questions that I think keep us up late at night if we haven't gotten a solid plan in place for our retirement. So for example, how should I invest my money? Which investments do I choose? Another big one, how much risk should I take, and should my risk tolerance change at any point, and if so, when? How much money can I safely spend each and every month? Because the bottom line is, our income has got to last us for the rest of our lives. We do not want to run out of money.
Exactly. That is not an option.
No.
In fact, what you said, you know, if you have a short month, how uncomfortable that is.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
That is not the way you want to be thinking about living or anticipating your retirement to be.
Absolutely.
So, as the founder of Theia Financial, and also the founder of a proprietary process called the Accomplished Woman's Continuum. And what it is, it's a planning process to ensure that your assets deliver to you the rest of your life once you begin retirement.
Yes.
And the things that I would say that I know is absolutely true about retirement is that in retirement, it is your income that determines your standard of living. It's not your savings.
Right.
It's the income that you're receiving on a monthly basis that you can count on. It gives you the peace of mind to enjoy the spending of that money and also know that you're not going to run out.
Right. The income you can generate from that savings, right?
Exactly.
Like,
and the second thing is that women live longer than men typically.
Yes.
I mean, it just is what it is, right?
Yeah.
And so the reality is your money just simply needs to last longer.
Well, and this is especially true for women. You know, the stat we've talked about before is that currently 80% of men die married. So what does that tell us? That tells us that for the majority of us, at some point, if you are happily married, you have a spouse or a partner that is accomplished women, we might be outliving our male counterparts, which means we're going to be on our own handling and navigating a lot of these things.
Yeah, and I think it's critically important for female retirees to know that they're going to have lifetime guaranteed income.
Yes.
I've seen it go both ways, and I can tell you, it is a much more pleasant experience when you understand how the income's going to work. But there are actually three very important risks that have to be managed in this process. That's what we're going to be talking about today.
Absolutely.
We understand we have to have an income. We understand the money has to be invested and that there needs to be a plan for it. But the three risks are something that, regardless of how you go about doing that, these three risks must be addressed.
All right, so let's kick it off with risk number one, which is timing risk. And now this is the biggest risk, and I know you've done such a great job of explaining this in the past. It has a lot to do with when it comes time to retire. And here's the issue. Let's say that you retire and the markets take a big downturn, and now you're also starting to withdraw money from those accounts. Well, now you have that problem of timing risk, meaning that you're going to have less money to live off of for the rest of your life.
Exactly. There was a quote that Kiplinger, from the Kiplinger magazine, he said this. He said, "The biggest threat to retirement wealth is withdrawing too much money from a shrinking nest egg, because there may not be enough left to benefit from the inevitable market rebound." I thought that was really insightful. And you know, I was looking at some numbers, and I was looking at the years before my dad retired. Okay, he retired in 1999, and from 1990 to 1999, there was only 1 year that there was a downturn. Wow. And the rest of that time, the market was flying. I mean, I was looking at these numbers, 26% up, 16% up, 13% up, 20% up. It was an incredible time. He retires in 1999. The year 2000 happens. 9/11 happened. How could you ever have anticipated that, right? The market over those 3 years went down almost 40%. So here you think you know everything is good. Right. Your portfolio, depending on how your advisor had worked with you and readjusted it, and this is our area of expertise, he shouldn't have lost as much money as he did. But you know what he was worried about? When we talked about it, He was worried about, and I wasn't in the industry at that time, or I would have never let that happen.
Right.
He was worried about my mom. You know, he said, I got to be sure there's money for mom. And just assuming that he would, and that is in fact what happened, that he passed away before my mother did. So in 2008, in that same 10 years after he retired, you had 2008 happen, where the market went down, let's see, 33.8%. I mean, we just went through a downturn not long ago, and it was painful. That is a lot more painful.
It is.
Right? And so that's what unlucky timing is. It's not timing the market. It's about entering into your retirement without a safety net to keep you from, and forcing you to withdraw from a depreciating asset. I did some numbers on this. I thought, well, let's do something more contemporary. That was back then. Okay, this is now. If you retired in 2021, let's say you had $500,000. Okay.
Yep.
And the market was up 19.4, or no, it was down, excuse me, 19.44% in 2022. So that means your account went down $97,200. Plus, you retired. So now you have to draw an income. So you take $25,000 of income. So after the first year, from $500,000, your account is at $377,000.
What a hit.
Right? Now the next year goes up, and this is the year that we're in, 2023, goes up 14%. We're not even done with the year yet. You have $54,000 that you've made up, but you're taking $25,000 out. You're at $407,000. You're still down almost $100,000, and you've only been retired 2 years.
Right.
How does that make you feel?
Not great. Not great at all.
Yes. Right. So timing is not an option. It has to be addressed.
Yes.
If you are going to live well in retirement, you cannot stay fully at risk with all of your money.
Right.
You have to have some money that is protected from a big market decline.
So for someone who's watching right now and they're thinking, gosh, I don't want to have to work forever. I'm worried about this timing situation. I need to make sure I have a solid plan in place. How can they get connected with you and with the Accomplished Woman Continuum?
Well, I want to tell you about the Accomplished Woman Continuum because it is a retirement planning process that addresses timing very specifically. Your first 10 years of retirement are the most important. You cannot take a risk during that time of being hit by something you can't predict or fix. Love to tell you about that. It's a 15-minute Zoom call. You can call our office or call the number that 866-724-4927. One of our teammates will answer the call. They'll set you up on a Zoom call. We'll have a chance to visit, and it'll be a pleasure to tell you more about the possibilities for planning in your retirement.
Cathy, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, we are going to take a quick commercial break, but that number to call again is on the bottom of your screen. Simply dial 866-724-4927. You're also welcome to take out your smartphone. Simply scan that QR code in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. That will take you over to a landing page, ask you a few simple questions, and a member of the team at Theia Financial will reach out to you to be able to schedule your complimentary 15-minute Zoom call with Cathy so that you can learn more about the Accomplished Woman's Continuum. When we come back, we're going to be talking about the second biggest risk, which is inflation. It's around us everywhere today. We know it's happening. Does your financial plan take that into consideration? We'll address that when we come back.
As your life unfolds, sometimes you don't see the future. You're in the moment. You're doing what you do in the moment, right? As an example, we have an orphanage in Kenya. Who would have ever dreamed we would do that? We didn't set out to do that. It happened. Worked for the Tupperware Corporation world headquarters for about 20 years. And one day I thought, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to be inside of what's happening in families. I want to be in people's lives. I decided to open a financial firm that is not geographically constrained, that anyone can get involved with, that was really focused on women. Because I feel like women have a little different priority. They see money a little differently than a lot of men do. Very accomplished women, very capable. They've been managing money their whole life. They understand the need to save, and they have saved money, and they have put time in to make sure they have a future retirement that works. They know that they need to reach out, and they know they need to work with a company that really can help them move forward securely. And that's our passion. That's what we're doing.
Welcome back to The Accomplished Woman with Cathy Mendell. I'm your host, Kristin Oakley, and we are talking today with Cathy about the 3 biggest risks to us as accomplished women in retirement. In the first segment before the commercial break, we talked about timing risk. Yes. We need to talk about the second risk, which is inflation. And I know we were talking before the show even started. I was grocery shopping last week and horrified once again to see how expensive my eggs have become. I think inflation is something all of us, unfortunately, are navigating right now, but this is something that has to be factored into our overall financial plan for retirement. And I recently heard that inflation is compared to having high blood pressure, meaning it's the silent killer because it sneaks up on you, and the consequences can really be damaging for our financial plan.
They absolutely can. You know, the thing that has happened with me personally is that going through this last year and a half or so and watching inflation raise its ugly head, I've never experienced that before to that degree. I've never seen groceries do what they do. I've never seen empty shelves. I've never seen families trying to figure out how to make the budget work out. It's the first time in my life. And I mean, inflation has always been there, but it's been so silent and so quiet. And it didn't always affect, you know, me personally, but watching it unfold has been shocking. And when you think about inflation, I love the word high blood pressure because actually I think it gave me high blood pressure watching all
I know
of
it did last week when I was grocery shopping, for sure. But
you know, when you look at the numbers and you really think about what that means for you going forward, I mean, just think about the price of a car. In 1980, the average price of a new car was $7,000. In 1989, it was $15,400. And then in 2023, it was $48,000, the average price. And when you think about, you know, the wages and the earning power, it hasn't gone up to that point. No, it hasn't made up for that.
There's been no cost of living increases to keep up with the pace of inflation.
There has not, absolutely. So the thing that you have to think about is that if you're working for someone and you have a paycheck and every year you get a cost of living adjustment, right? Or hopefully you get a cost of living adjustment, that's kind of necessary. You need that cost of living adjustment just to keep things equal so that your money is taking care of you and your family. You have to have that in retirement too. You can't ignore that. So people that, you know, put money into an asset that they get a 5% interest rate and that's all they get. And there's no increase in that. That becomes problematic in a few years. Because all of a sudden it's not enough. So I actually had someone who had a large bond portfolio and it gave them the income that they needed. But it was never going to give them more because the bonds only have a certain coupon rate. And so the only other option then would be to start selling them, which then would reduce the, so it's a very interesting dynamic. Inflation is not something for the weak of heart. You've got to have a plan in place for it. And when you're doing your planning, you want to be sure that you can see how you need to physically have your advisor show you how your income is going to increase over time and what the strategies you're going to be using to make that happen. And that is what we do with our Accomplished Woman process, is that we actually build that in so that there's never an issue with having that as, and if you don't need the money, that's great. We just don't pull it out of the portfolio or your plan, but it has to be there to offset those costs.
So when someone is meeting with you and you're helping them build their own Accomplished Woman continuum, how do you account for inflation? How do you factor that into this financial plan for them?
So we actually have like segments of the portfolio that are designed to do different things. And one of those segments is an increase in income that happens gradually throughout your lifetime. And it's actually money that's set aside to be kind of turned on, or income to be generated from that over time. It's separate from the income that's maybe supplying the bulk of your needs, but it bumps it up a little bit every year. And if you have to have that, you have to have that ability to do that. In order to offset the cost of living.
Well, I know obviously this is an important risk, and we're talking about the 3 risks that affect your retirement. You have to factor in inflation. And so if you're watching right now and you're going, I need some help, I don't even know where to start, but I know that I need this plan. I need to meet with Cathy. So again, help them understand what's going to happen when they call the number today, and how is that meeting with you going to go?
Well, I'll tell you, first of all, it's only 15 minutes, so it's kind of short. So we're not going to do the plan on our first first call, okay? But what we are going to do is we're going to get acquainted. We're going to learn about your situation. If you're married, you're single, divorced, we're going to talk about Social Security. We're going to talk about what kind of income you need. We're going to be discussing where you're at with your planning so far, how much you have saved, how much longer you need to work or want to work. I mean, there's a lot of conversation that can happen between two women in 15 minutes, truthfully.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then what we'll do is if we decide that we want to continue that conversation, then we'll actually set another appointment where we both have more time and we can do a little bit of prep work. And the end goal is that if you decided that you wanted to work with us and our team becomes your financial team that takes you into retirement, we will build out this entire accomplished woman continuum. And you will have a plan that you will understand and that you'll know and that has some guarantees underneath it. To do that, just give us a call. Set up a time to talk, 866-724-4927.
Cathy, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, we are going to take a quick commercial break, but this is an excellent opportunity to pick up the phone and call. That number is on the bottom of your screen, 866-724-4927. Again, for no cost, no charge, no obligation. It's simply an invitation to have a conversation, to meet with Cathy over Zoom and see how she can help and serve you. Or you're welcome to scan that QR code, and that will also get you connected to be able to set up your appointment that way as well. When we come back, we're going to tackle our third and final risk that we're talking about today of the 3 biggest risks that you face in retirement. Stay with us.
We've all experienced those coulda, shoulda, woulda moments. When it comes to retirement, there are no do-overs. At Theia Financial, we understand the importance of retirement planning and turning your savings into reliable income you can count on. Retirement is more than just financial security. It's about spending quality time with your loved ones, embracing your creativity and pursuing your life's passions, and discovering the countless marvels that make our world a truly remarkable place. With a belief in the power of preparation, we work with accomplished women to design personalized plans. Don't leave retirement planning up to chance. Take control of your financial future and turn your retirement dreams into a long-lasting reality. Contact us today to schedule your free consultation.
Welcome back to The Accomplished Woman with Cathy Mendell. I'm your host, Kristin Oakley, and we are talking today about the 3 biggest risks that accomplished women face in retirement. We've talked about timing risk, we've talked about inflation risk, and we talked about it, we talked on it and touched on it earlier in the first segment, this concept of longevity risk. But we cannot stress this enough, how important this is for us as women, because we are living longer than we ever have before, and we tend to outlive men. So talk to us a little bit, Cathy, about how you factor in longevity. For example, when you are designing a plan for a woman, how far do you run those projections out based on our longer life expectancy?
We usually run them to age 100.
Wow. Yeah.
We need to know there's going to be money there, not only just to live, but to pay for the additional healthcare support you may need. You may be in a position where you're in your 80s and you're done with living in the house. You don't want to do that anymore.
Right.
Your spouse has passed away or not, and you decide assisted living is the right thing for you. Well, what does that cost? And there needs to be money there for that. Yes. And if we have been adjusting your income along the way, and we have other assets that have been set aside, we call those assets the time capsule segment. We'll talk about that in a minute. It is set aside just for that. That's what it's for. And that's a plan that we put together right at the beginning.
Well, I want to hear so much more about your proprietary process that you've developed, the Accomplished Woman Continuum. And so let's spend the rest of our time really unpacking this, because I think it's really important to understand how you're planning for women, and specifically for women, how that's different than what the vast majority of the financial services industry does.
Right.
And so let's start with that. Talk to me a little bit about how this process came to be and what is involved when a woman is able to connect with you and have you build her own Accomplished Woman Continuum.
The word continuum came from the idea that as an accomplished woman, I've led my life. I've made decisions. I've probably managed the family's money. I'm good at my job. I've been accomplished in my family. I volunteer. I do all of these things.
All the things, yes.
The last thing you want to do when you move into retirement is to walk into a space of the unknown, right? You want reliable, ongoing income, just like it was when you were working. You want your life to continue.
Yes.
To continue so that you are who you are, you live the way you want to live. And I am such a believer in that. And so what this is it's a system for boosting your financial security in retirement, and it's very clearly defined. So what happens is that it's kind of a system of laddering almost, if you want to think of it that way, where you have what we call strategies that are specifically designed to accomplish different things. One of them is called the income segment. So the income segment is going to deal with your first 5 years of retirement. Remember, we talked about timing risk. See, we have to address that. We're going to address that straight up. Because it cannot happen that you retire and lose 30 or 40% of your portfolio.
Right, and as you said before, those first few years when you're retired are some of the most critical.
Oh, they are. You cannot have that happen to you. So we have to buy some time. So we create a strategy called the income segment that really identifies your income needs in your first 5 years.
Okay.
And then the next one is called the accumulation strategy. And that one deals with your income needs from year 6 through 10. So those assets are separate. They're designed separate, but they have a growth trajectory of 10 years. And again, it's all about timing risk. The first 10 years of retirement are just critical.
Yes.
So we want to address it there. We want to address it right out of the gate. While these assets are in place, everything else is growing. So everything is set up at the beginning, but then it's all growing as we go along. So the next one is called the longevity segment. This is my favorite one.
Okay.
Because I actually hopped into this longevity segment when I was only in my 50s.
Oh, so yes, tell the story.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard the story. It's a good one. So
okay,
go for it.
What happened was I had moved from a corporate job and I had opened up my financial firm. And so I had this 401k. Well, when you leave a job, as you know, you have the opportunity to move your money. Now, in my financial firm, I had a 401k for my employees. I could have moved the money there, but I decided not to do that. Instead, I put it into an IRA, and then I invested in this longevity segment. I ended up using an index annuity with a lifetime income benefit. My husband did the same thing. So we both put in $250,000 into this account. It wasn't all of our money, but it was enough of it. But you know why I did this? Because I wanted that guaranteed income when I retired.
Yes.
I don't have to think about that. So what happened is I looked at that and I said, okay, probably 20 years to retirement or somewhere in there. I love my job, so I don't have to quit anytime soon. But when I stop working, my annuity will give us $33,000 a year for life, and my husband's will give him the same amount.
Wow.
You put those two together, that's $66,000 a year. You add to that Social Security, basically we're set with money when we decide to retire. The pressure is off.
It is off.
The other
it's
assets,
all guaranteed.
and it's all guaranteed. I don't have to worry, will it happen, or what if the market doesn't cooperate?
Right.
I wanted to take that off the table immediately. And as soon as I had the opportunity, and there may be several people here listening to us today that have recently made a job change, and they have access to make some decisions. You ought to find out what's out there. There are some amazing tools. We call this the longevity segment because it will pay you as long as you live. You will not run out of money.
What peace of mind comes with
gosh,
that,
it's incredible. I just think that it is where people want to be as they move into this phase of life. And it's not just a female. This is very gender neutral, okay? My husband feels just as great about this as I do because he doesn't have to worry about it either.
Right.
So when you go, I've had physicians, I've had FDA, analysts, I've had all kinds of people that I have worked with that have chosen to take this longevity segment to make sure not only that they will be okay, but their surviving spouse will be okay.
Right.
And then the last one is called the time capsule segment.
Okay, I love the name of this one.
The time capsule segment. So this one is kind of a standalone. And we set this one up so that you have potential things that come up that you wouldn't have known about. You have vehicles that have to be replaced, or you have remodeling that you want to do on the house, or you have a health issue that you have some extra expenses on, some travel or whatever. It's for that. It can also be for inheritance for your family. So it is set aside as extra money. It can be in a variety of places, variety of different types of investments, but the point is you now have a path that will lay it out for you. You've dealt with timing risk. We have a plan for inflation. We know that we're not going to run out of money. There isn't a better way to go into retirement. It feels so good. Oh, yes. I can just watch the stress melt off of my clients. And to work with us this way, and then to have that communication, and we just update as we go along and help you move into that phase of retirement in life. It's wonderful when you do this type of planning. It's not wonderful when you're watching your accounts drop. I can tell you the anguish that my dad went through in his first 3 years of retirement. He went to his advisor, and his advisor said, well, Hank, everybody loses money. And he says, Sonny, you know when they say that, you're in trouble.
Right. Yeah.
He says, I'm too old to be losing this kind of money. But, you know, he was working with somebody that was an accumulation specialist. He had been dealing with my dad's money for 25 years, wasn't really thinking about these issues we've been talking about today.
Right.
My dad got hit square in the face with timing risk, and he lost a large portion of money. They didn't travel for their first 5 years of retirement because of that.
Wow. Yeah.
Because he was afraid to spend the money, and that's what they were going to do.
Yep.
I mean, they could hardly wait when they sold their business and retired. That was their dream, was to travel, and they didn't.
Right.
So, you know, it has consequences when you don't have a good plan.
It does. And I even think about one of my grandmothers. She had more than enough saved up, and she was going to be okay, but there was that constant worry, stress, and fear, and she always had the news on and watching what the markets were doing, and you could just tell there was not that peace of mind that can come when you know that for sure you're going to be okay and you're not at risk of outliving your money.
You know, there's something I would like to say to the husbands listening today, because you may not know this about your spouse, and I think it's important. I wrote this down, I just need to find it, that men and women sometimes see money differently. They don't always see eye to eye, and I especially notice this when I have a couple come in and visit with me, and maybe one of them are doing most of the talking and the other one's being kind of quiet. And I'm thinking, okay, there's two different opinions here. For many men, it's return on investment. Okay, it's rate of return, it's past performance, it's all of those things. For women, the ROI changes. It's reliable ongoing income. Okay, for many women, they would say, this is something that in our research has told us, is that women tend to say they're not so much concerned with picking stocks as they are with reducing risk. That is more important to them than picking stocks. The other one is past performance is not a priority. Tomorrow's financial security is. And so that's what I want to encourage you. If you're thinking about, you know, maybe I ought to start getting serious about this and spend some time talking to Cathy, really encourage you to just grab the phone, 866-724-4927. One of our amazing team members will answer the call. They'll take your information. We'll get a Zoom call scheduled, and we'll have an opportunity to sit and visit. It would be a pleasure to do that with you.
Cathy, thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching at home. We encourage you to connect with Cathy, and we look forward to seeing you next time.